We are all in for a treat. Engan was a shy little boy who avoided talking to strangers by walking inside the safety of his mom's wraparound skirts. He turned shyness around, and today he's an award-winning speaker and presentation skills coach. Over the last 3 years, his clients have won 85% of their contests, including the National Speakers Association Storytelling Champion and the last 2 District 101 International Speech Contest champions. He has coached over 24 NSA Hall of Fame speakers. Ray created the humor algorithm, demystifying the process of humor. It can take anyone and any presentation and make it funny. His upcoming program, the Lean In Factor, is designed for entrepreneurs who present to make quicker connections, faster friendships, and bigger sales. It's due out next month. He has also helped dozens of good speakers take their speaking as a hobby in Toastmasters outside the club and turn it into a viable profession with the Speak and Sell program. Today, he's going to show us how to use our speaking gift to create income from free speeches. Please welcome Ray Engan. Thank you, Ray.
Man, I have goosebumps right now, I really do. And I gotta say, you scared me right at the beginning because you started to talk about the person that there was something wrong in Colorado. And I thought I was gonna follow that. And I flashed back, it was a New Year's Eve. I did a fire department New Year's Eve show in Williams, California, and it's packed and they're having the greatest time. And everybody comes up, you guys ready for everything? Woo! You know, before we bring up the comedian, let's have a moment for those that passed away this year. It brought it all down, and I had to think fast and come on my feet. And I said something like, he would have wanted us all to have a great time to bring in the new year, wouldn't he? And then they all went back up and everything. So I was a little bit worried, but thanks. But literal goosebumps thinking about this. Thinking about talking about taking someone and getting them to the next level. I literally have goosebumps. So much so, I drove down here in a bomb cyclone 80 miles away for no money, and I want to be here, right? What gives you goosebumps? What would you drive 80 miles in a bomb cyclone through tornado warnings to get you to come here and do this? What's the thing you're most excited about? Because that is your most profitable speaking topic. Thing that you have the most passion for. Now, in order to get there, when we have these passions, remember being a little kid and you played at whatever you wanted to from morning till nighttime. I played baseball. I know Steve's a big baseball fan, and I played baseball morning to night every single day. They didn't give me a dime. I did it because I loved it and I wanted to get better at it. When we become adults, we stop that passion because the real world hits us. Well, the real world is whatever you want to do. And that passion, I failed so many times in baseball. And we hide those failure stories. We don't tell anybody your fail stories. Take your passion and how you failed, and that's the story you should be telling, because that's the one that's going to be remembered. If you've got a story to tell and happy and sad, you also have a story to sell, and that'll make you glad. Right. So today, I want to talk about what makes a great speaker, what makes a professional speaker. And what I want you to do, if you're in online, put it in the chat, and if somebody could watch that for me, because I can't see, it's a tiny little box right there. And here, the people sitting next to you, come up with one thing that makes a great speaker. And what we're going to do is we're going to build the perfect speaker. We're going to build the perfect speaker. So groups of 2 or 3 in here, just one word each that you think makes a great speaker, and then we'll build the perfect speaker. Online, just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so louder. Take on me.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Take it on. I know trust one word. The audience. Right. How it makes us feel when Oh, we gotta get 3 or 10?
Just, no,
Right now we have.
pick one each, pick one each.
Achievers.
And what happens is, as we go around, if you hear somebody else say what you said, cross.
I can't smell.
Trust.
No.
Okay.
Humility?
What's your number?
Okay.
And humor. Knowledge.
So what else?
Oh, hang tight. We'll get. All right, let's wrap this up because it looks like some of the groups are ready. Authenticity. Hi, Elaine.
My job.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Here's how this works. I have 3 from the Cyberland, and I'll read those. If these are on your list, cross it off. When I ask your group, one person give the list, and just give the ones that are new. So right now, a great speaker has charisma, humility, and authenticity. Wow. Okay, is that what you had?
Nope.
What do you got?
We have humor, trust, connection, and the journey, which is, yeah, so humor, trust, we had 4 in our group.
That's okay.
Trust.
Okay, so we have humor, trust, connection, and the journey, or just journey. Steve Perry and the new kid from the Philippines that took over.
No, I don't think she was thinking of.
Okay,
It says, she said heart on.
Heart, there's another band. We've got Journey. This is turning into a rock and roll session. That's fantastic. What'd you have back there?
We have inspiring, engaging, charisma, humorous. Oh,
Yes, the humorous is.
interacting, and.
Interacting. Okay. And Kate, what do you have?
We have knowledge, expertise, confidence, being funny, passion, leader.
Hold on. I'm an analog dude. Knowledge, expertise.
Confidence. Compassion.
Did you say confidence or competence?
Confidence.
Confidence, okay.
Compassion,
Compassion?
being funny,
Okay, we got that.
passion.
That's good. And leadership, okay. What about up front here?
Thank you.
What do you got,
I
MG?
think it's well covered.
Got them all?
There's a lot already.
Okay,
We had passion, connection, and
They're.
we went from the bands to the perfume of passion.
okay, all right. So we got Christian Dior and Steve Perry and Ann Wilson.
Right.
All right, we're taking a journey to the center of the heart. I like that. So here is our perfect speaker. Someone who's charismatic, they have humility, they're authentic, humor, you trust them, they connect quickly, they've had the journey, they have heart, they're inspiring, engaging, interactive, knowledge, expertise, confidence, compassion, and leadership. That would be someone you would put up on a pedestal, right? As a speaker, you go, wow, look at that person. They're amazing, right? Looking back over that list, what is on here that you can't do? Humor? Now, we'll get to that. Here's a key thing about humor. Don't think of it as stand-up comedy. Don't think about it as being funny. Think about it as creating laughter or creating a smile. That's what humor is. It has nothing to do with how funny you are. And if you're not funny, you can very effectively use humor in the workplace. And if you want to get ahead where you work, or you'd like to go off on your own, humor is your secret weapon. It is like the absolute amazing thing in the world that gives you second chances. The CEOs across the country, the last poll, 91% said they want two things. They want a great work ethic, and they need somebody with a sense of humor. And if you work side by side with somebody who is really funny, let's say you're not, 84% of the people at the workplace will think that you are doing a better job than the person that is not using humor. Here's the good news. The person that tries is almost as high as the funny person. And so what I mean by that, and I'm not really going to go deep on this today, but if you send emails, you put a little cartoon at the bottom, put a funny quote in there. You don't have to create it. I know a seminar speaker that gets paid thousands of dollars and he's not funny at all. Because what he does is a seminar, every 5 to 8 minutes, he will say, "What time is it?" And at first they go, "Oh, it's it's 9:30." But then, no, it's funny cat video. And he plays a cat video. And during his hour that he presents, as he goes on, he uses that callback and he says, "What time is it?" And they go, "Cat video time." And then at the end, he goes, "What time is it?" "Oh, it's like 10, it's cat video time." He goes, "No, it's like 10:25. That's when that's the whole time." So that in and of itself is not funny if I just said it. But in live moments, what laughter really wrapped around is surprise. It's a benign violation of a norm that surprises you. And it has to be benign so nobody gets hurt. And it has to surprise you because you can't tickle yourself. And an example of that, if Steve and I have known each other for, he's probably the only person, one or two others, that have actually physically met in person. And that was years and years ago, I think at Speakers Forum. If we're walking down the street and we're both upright and I trip and fall, it's a reasonable expectation he has that I would remain standing or walking forward. So when I trip and fall, it's a surprise. And he goes, "Oh, you klutz." He'd start laughing. Now, it's benign at this point. But if I get up and my arm is broken, it's not funny anymore. Until that wound heals. And then it can be funny again. Because people love to show their scars, but they hate to show their open wounds. And that's how you know you've gone too far. So, a little humor sidetrack down there. So, there's not one of these things on this list that you can't do. So, everybody in this room is or can be an amazing speaker. And by the way, this is like the who's who of District 57 place. If you're online and you're thinking about joining, this has every leader that's in the company practically, it seems like. But what I want to do today is show you the path to take yourself to the next level. So if this is, you're brand new to Toastmasters and you want to, you're afraid to speak or you're not really comfortable speaking, then you're in the right place. If you are a speaker in Toastmasters and you've been there for a while and you're thinking about competing, then this is the right place. If you're a good speaker and you want to take it outside of Toastmasters, then you're in the right place, right? If you're a great speaker that maybe has gotten paid a little bit, but wants to get paid more or can't figure out how to get on stages outside of Toastmasters, then you're in the right place. So I think we can handle a little bit of everything for everybody here today and move forward. So I'm going to show you, I got to show you this real quick. This is the most important piece of cardboard in my life. But we'll get to that later. Okay. And I'm gonna show you a template where you can speak for free and make money, because you're not going to go and jump on a $15,000 stage right away. You've got to get your way there. And the number one thing that do you think you have to be a good speaker to get paid? No. How could that possibly be? Does being a great speaker mean you always get paid? No. I was sitting in a wealth seminar and the guy on stage was talking about the average millionaire goes broke, declares bankruptcy 2.5 times before they get to keep their money. And my thought right then, half a one to go. Now, was I a bad speaker at that point? No, I tried to do it on my own and it failed. This is after I won District 57 district champion. And I just lost my job and I go, oh my God, I'm a great speaker now. I'll go and people will just hire me and let me go. And, you know, I was telling stories about things that in childhood and stuff like that. People don't want to hear that. Here's the one thing you need to be able to get paid. You have to solve a problem. And here's the thing. Every story you have solves a problem. It doesn't matter what it is. I watched my sister one morning go outside the house, 3 days in a row. And have you ever done this where you walked outside the house and there's a spider web? And she walked into the spider web 3 days in a row. I was about to go outside one day. I go, I wonder if he's still there. And then my sister went out the third time. She freaked out. And my train of thought went, well, what do you think the spider's thinking? I worked all night. I worked all night and then you just destroyed it. Or he could be a persistent person. This could be a message about selling, overcoming adversity. It's like, man, I almost got her today. If I get her, I can feed my family for years. Right? These are the things that are so important. How do you find the message in your story? What is it that you change? What problem do you solve? And you can be a very boring speaker that solves problems and make lots and lots and lots of money. Now, it's more fun to be interesting when you speak, but I'm going to show you a couple ways to do that. Creating a story is a pretty cool thing to do. And it's that freeing moment for me when I sitting there, when I heard that guy said 2.5, I actually looked that number up, 2.5 bankruptcies, it's 3.5. The average millionaire loses everything, declares bankruptcy 3.5 times before they get to keep it. I'll wait while you Google it because I know some of you are out there, but I already did that. Because I thought 2.5 was high, but then it said 3.5. And that moment to me was freedom. Because I felt bad about myself and I felt, I didn't tell that story for years. This was like right at the beginning of COVID almost. And what happened was I didn't know what to do. I'd worked for other people as a salesperson, succeeded amazingly well. I'd been a stand-up comic, wrote a little bit for the Tonight Show. I made a living at it, but it wasn't lucrative. It just took one downfall to blow everything up. And then when I went off on my own again, after winning the district, it was like 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I went into business for myself and nobody came and hired me. So I had to figure out how that worked. And then I realized when COVID came in, I was doing seminars across the country. I thought I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna lose everything. And I had, you know, a couple grand left. I had $20,000 due on a balloon bankruptcy, the end of bankruptcy. And I signed up with this guy to teach me how to market myself. And here's the value of having a coach, because I had to be accountable to this guy. And I signed up for his 90-day program. And in 90 days, I made $20,000. My balloon payment for my bankruptcy was $20,000. Now, what I learned, I was a good salesperson. I'm not a good sales manager. And I realized that I had to get somebody over the top of me. And this guy that helped me out, a guy named David Newman, he had a big program where he took care of you like for a whole year and did all this thing. And I thought, if I give it to the IRS or whoever I owed it to the bankruptcy court, I'll be alone again. And the chance that I fail, there goes that third time. I could roll the money. I gave the money to David Newman, and he taught me how to do the things I'm going to tell you about today, and learning how to speak to sell and using free audiences and free things to get people to attract into your world and come to the problems you solve. So the number one thing to think about, what problem do I solve? And you can't really do that by yourself. You've got to brainstorm. Now, it's easy. If I sit down with you for 15 minutes, we'll come up with something that you do well that you don't realize, because other people see it better than you do. You can't read the ingredients label from inside the jar, right? And that's free and easy to do, and I'll offer to do that with everybody that shows up here today. So that's a fun thing to do for me. But here's the thing, we have this beautiful thing now that everybody's afraid of. Everybody overuses it the wrong way. Chat GPT is your brainstorming partner. And the key thing with Chat GPT are the prompts. And I'm no super expert with it, but I know what turned my life around to use it. Give me a prompt to do this. I ask it for the prompt, copy and paste, put it back in, and I get much better answers. So if you say, give me 10 things, here's a story. Give me 10 different lessons out of this story. Do not take what ChatGPT does and just regurgitate it back. Think of ChatGPT as your intern. Your intern can help you free up time and do all kinds of tasks that you get caught up on, but you wouldn't turn your business over to it. So use it as an intern, and then you can take it and make it better. I was talking to a group the other day, and somebody said like, oh yeah, I just use AI. And I go, well, don't use AI right now because you got Ray Eye here. We'll be able to take that out. So that's so important. You don't have to be a good speaker. If you're not a good speaker now, you can become one. And every time you talk, when you speak, if you're a good speaker, everybody sitting in the audience going, well, it's easy for him. It's easy for him. Oh, he's funny. It's easy for him. Well, guess how I got there? He said, I hid in my mom's wraparound skirts. It's absolutely 100% true. When I would get shy, my mom wore wraparound skirts, and I would walk inside the safety of mom's wraparound skirt, right? Well, in first grade, at the very first open house, one of the teachers, Mrs. Carrillo, wore the exact same wraparound skirt my mom had. It looked the same from where I stood. I walked in the wrong skirt. The entire school laughed at me. I shut down. I didn't talk to anybody. I had like one friend. I used to eat lunch in a ditch, and it was right underneath the window. That was the window to the teacher's lounge. And I heard the people in the teacher's lounge talk about the problem kids in school. And apparently I was one of them. The quiet one, monk boy, cat's tongue. One of them even complained because I didn't say anything. That would be a dream student for me if I was a teacher, right? But I had one friend, his name was Dan Lewis, and in fifth grade, I had a teacher that changed the whole world. He pulled me up the second day and he said, Ray, I know who you are. I can see right through you. I know your secret. It's safe with me. Like, what does that mean? He goes, well, you sit in the back of the class and you talk to Dan and you whisper things in Dan's ears. Dan is the class clown. He says to the rest of the class, you're the class clown's head writer. And I thought that was cool, right? And he started telling other kids that I was funny because they'd come up, Mr. Huber says you're funny. Say something funny. And apparently I did, because now I had 6 or 7 friends. And if you're a normal teacher and you go, wow, I just created a new world for this guy, you know, done. No, not this guy. Middle of the year, calls me up. I know you didn't audition for the school play, but you're in luck. I'm the director. I saved you a role. You're going to play the lead in a school play. I don't know if you remember cartoons when the jaws would drop and the eyes would bug out. That's kind of how I look, right? And he said, whoa, 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 hang on. Have I ever done anything wrong with you? No. What year has been better for you in school than any other year? This one. Why? Because I talked to more people. What if you could talk to them all? My brother was, that would be very scary, right? But he took me under his wing. It was almost like day by day, week after week, rehearsal after rehearsal. He made me know everybody in the school. I now had this incredible sense of, you know, being able to be up in front of people. And the day before the school play, I thought, man, this is, oh, I just know the 30 kids doing the play. I don't know the 217 adults and hyperkinetic kids that are sitting on the squeaky folding chairs out there. So I shut down. I'm like, oh, no. I called him. I said, I'm going to be sick tomorrow. Ray, tomorrow's school play. Yeah, I know. I'm really sick. I'm going to get the other kids sick, would you? And then he asked me if he said the weirdest thing. He said, do you feel a thumping in your chest? Like, yeah, probably having a heart attack. I can't do a school play with having a heart attack. But then he gave me the best piece of advice that stuck with me my whole life. He said, Ray, that thumping in your chest, it's not your heart. It's your dreams. The bigger the thump, the bigger the dream. And for the rest of your life, everything that's good for you starts uncomfortably with that thump in here. So don't you fear it, face it, walk toward it, feature it, smile, because the best thing in the world is about to happen. And the next day I'm doing a school play, right? And I'm the lead. It's Shakespeare play. There's 2 lines left in this play. And I'm the only one on stage in front of 217 people. And I have no idea what those 2 lines are. And my mom said, it looked like you were about to cry. And I remember thinking, should I cry? Because adults like treat you nice if you cry. I remember that went through my head. And then I standing there and I felt that thump. And I said, this is what he's talking about. And I go, oh, I'm supposed to walk toward it, face it, smile. So I walked forward and I just said the first thing that came to my mind in the moment. I said, Lord Shakespeare has written tremendous lines to end tonight's play. But what they are, alas, I know not. And I bowed. He dropped the curtain. I could hear the laughter on the other side of the curtain. I thought, this isn't a comedy. I thought maybe I ruined Mr. Huber's play. And then he came up and he hugged me. And he said, you didn't freeze. Now you're free. There's nothing you can't do. And I'm proud to say I haven't shut up since, basically. But that story is an inspiring story. And it's about going from one end of the spectrum to the other. And it has a ton of life's meanings. That story is a version of the one I did 12 years ago, which wasn't very good, but still won the district. Now it's good. So it's the things that you come up and the messages that you have, all the Toastmaster stories you have are pieces of the puzzle that can get you paid to speak. Because every little thing has a message to it. And write these 3 words down. I'll give you all 6 right now, and then you just write those things down. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. All 5s. That's one set of 3. The other set is curiosity, relevance, and specificity. And what clarify is, the only reason to speak is to change the world. That's JFK. Yeah, JFK said that. Now, that sounds kind of daunting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm speaking in front of 15 people in Irvington or Fremont? Fremont, okay. Irvington and Fremont. Who is Irving and why does he weigh a ton? That's what I want to know. But how could this possibly change the world? Well, if I go home with a smile on my face, my day's better. This gives me a smile. If I inspire one of you to do something a little bit more, I made your life better. That changes the world. So the things that we have to say are all important. And when I send an email, when I contact somebody, when I call somebody, when I give a speech, the first thing I do is, what do I want to happen when this is done? Right? What do I want this to do when this is done? And so, for example, the first thing, who's got a what do they call it? The thing that you get goosebumps for. I know Steve like baseball, right? Can I use that example? So you think of baseball, you get goosebumps.
Right.
You love that. So how do you use that to create something that someone would want to see? What is the lesson of baseball? When you talk about baseball, what do you want them to do when you're done? It's more, you could say, well, I just like to tell people about baseball. There's a deeper message there. There's always a deeper message. It could be about when I talked about the practicing and the work ethic you have as a kid for your favorite thing, and then we lose that as an adult. So everything has that. So clarify, and you need to be able to say that when you first write it down. If you give a speech, this is what I want to happen. Blah 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 blah. You ought to be able to get it down to 6 words. You ought to be able to tell me what your speech is about in 6 words. Six to 10. Hemingway wrote a book in 6 words. Anybody know that? Full story, 6 words. For sale, baby shoes, never used. You create an emotion with 6 words. So that's the challenge, but sloppy progress is important in the creative cycle. So don't worry about the 6 words yet, get it all on the page. Then I call it turning 8 into 3. What I tell my clients all the time is, okay, the sentence you're about to write and tell me, take the 8 words you're going to tell me and turn it into 3. And you can do that with everything. And it comes from a conversation with Seinfeld where he said, if it takes 3 hours to turn a joke from 8 words into 5, it was worth it. Because the more you define each sentence, the more powerful you become. The other side of that. So I spoke at Steve's other club the other day. I took like a half an hour subject and I threw it into like 12 minutes. That doesn't work. Then I'm going to take half an hour and turn it into an hour and a half. And what happens, and the reason we want to do that, I think it's Patricia Fripp that says that, but we learn in times of reflection. And if I don't give you time to think about what I say, you'll never remember it. And here's the value of humor and the value of story. At the end of this presentation, if I just talk to you for an hour, you remember 3% of it. If I put shiny object up, PowerPoint, I don't know where it is to these people online. There it is. It goes up to like 10, maybe 15. If I tell you the message through story, you'll remember half of it. And if the story's funny, you remember 70% of it. So if you use humor in your presentation, and I don't care what presentation, you are gaining an extra 20% on your competition. And here's what, it doesn't even have to be funny. It just has to surprise people. There's a book called Humor Seriously that is the business case of humor. And what they did, they took 2 sales presentations that were identical except for one line at the end. And the one that added the one line at the end sold 37% more than the one that didn't have it. And the line was simply this, and I'll throw in my pet frog. Yeah. So this stuff works. It's so simple. It's not easy. It's simple. You have to learn to recreate that. So clarify, simplify. The third thing is amplify. If you're really serious about competing, winning a district, getting paid to do this, if you take the time to go through your speech and look at it and make sure that the most important word in every sentence goes at the end of the sentence, you will triple the power of your message. Let's try to think, was that the most important thing at the end of the sentence? You know, because this is something you're going to mess up. So don't worry about it, but just know these things happen. And curiosity, relevance, and specificity, those are 3 things that attract people to you. I was asked to speak to a group of lawyers that didn't want to have a speaker. Right? So I know that they're going to be resistant to me And I have to figure out a way to break through these guys. And I've done this before, and I got, maybe this will work. And I got introduced and I stood up. And I was silent till it was a little bit uncomfortable. And I smiled, I leaned forward and I said, have you ever been seduced? That's exactly what happened. One guy started laughing. It went through the whole room. I said, now, I wasn't there when you were, but I can tell from that response that you liked it. And you're thinking about it right now, and you're going backward to it right now, and you're giving me subconscious credit for taking you there. Wouldn't it be great to put a jury in the palm of your hand as quickly as I put you in the palm of mine? And when I said it, that's
smart.
That's the second. My favorite thing to hear is laughter when I speak. The second thing is when, oh, that was good. I got feel. Yeah. So those three were curiosity. Noticed how when I told the story about being the scared little kid, I had 217 squeaky folding chairs versus 217 people in the audience. The specificity brings it to life. And the relevance based on the crowd. I love opening a presentation with something that happened in the room. Which means that I don't know what I'm going to say when I walk in a room 100%. I know what I was gonna do, but then I literally, I had to read back to that moment because I go, oh no, he's not gonna bring me up after the sick person in Colorado, right? That took a fall. And it's like, oh, okay, he didn't. But again, there's my opening right there, because I like that story about being in Williams. So these are just simple little stories that happened in my life that I've attached a meaning to. And how do you string that together and make it into a presentation that you can use? Well, what you need to do is list these things out. You create kind of a mental Rolodex and use these stories, every table topic, every speech you give, in conversation. I want to know if it's hitting or not. I want to know how the language works. And it's not 100% feedback. When I did stand up, if you ever had a friend that, can I tell you a joke? Oh, right? And that never works. But if I said, here's something I heard on the Tonight Show last night, and I gave you one joke from the Tonight Show, and then I followed it with 5 that I was working on, they thought it was coming from the Tonight Show. They didn't know it was my test on them. So I got to do it. So I've learned that you have to try out in general conversation with your friends everything that you're going to put in a speech, because that's the real world test. The Toastmasters world, God bless us, it's not the real world. When was the last time your boss said, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster? I noticed that when you greeted the customer, you didn't use that greeting. Do I have permission to treat you not like Toastmasters today? Can I treat you like a fee-based client? And if I don't like something, I can say that. That's one thing that Toastmasters feedback is great. There's a lot of great stuff in there, but there are some people who said, you know, I love the way you breathe. In, out, in, out, in, out. So consistent. It's never out, out, in. That is so wonderful. So I think you really need, because the real world isn't so nice. Yeah. And they don't care about you. Think about when you meet a stranger, because essentially that's what you're doing when you go up in front of audience. What makes a person creepy? What makes a person engaging? What do you think it is? Online, if you got it in the chat, just put it in the chat. What do you think? What sometimes you meet somebody that's magical, sometimes it's creepy. What is the difference? What do you think? What's that?
Overbearing.
Overbearing, right?
No matter is the way they're dressed.
The way they're dressed. Okay.
Lack of eye contact.
lack of eye contact,
Being talked at.
being talked at instead of with. Okay,
Aggressive or just kind of, they seem to have a motive or they're showing too much interest. You're not sure where that's coming from or what it's about.
okay.
They want something.
The vibe is the number one answer I get when I ask this, but then I ask people to define vibe. And some of the things you said are all part of vibe. The one thing I get all the time though is the tone.
Attention and likability.
Attention, likability, what makes people likable? That's where we're going. How do you create instant likability, trust, and rapport? But let's talk about tone for a second, because this is important. So if I walked up to somebody and I went, "Hey, what's your name?" That's magical, right? No? So I have to change that tone.
Yeah.
So let me change the tone and see if it goes, "Hi, what's your name?" Right? Creeper. So it's not the tone. I've seen this on Zoom calls before. If I'm working from my couch, when I lean forward and go, like this, people on Zoom pull away. Right? And that's subconscious. What happens when you do that? You pull away and you lower your chin. Why do you lower your chin? That's the most vulnerable area of our body. And you're protecting it at all costs. What happens when you laugh? You throw your head back. What you're essentially saying is like, look, Lisa, there it is. You can kill me. I trust you. Right there. I trust you. So again, something with laughter that creates instant rapport, likability, and trust. The other side of it, if you want to be more likable, if I came up to you and you didn't know me, and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" What do you do? Okay. Literally, you pull back and lean down, just like that. What would happen if I said, "I have the craziest question"? What is it? What's the difference between those two things? One is a question. The other is a statement. Think about when you communicate to your friends, and that's what you want the audience to be, is your friend. Friends don't ask friends questions. They make statements. You know, like, Claudette's got this beautiful scarf on, right? And I could say, "Man, that's a great scarf. Where did you get that?" And she immediately tell me. People that dress showy, it's okay to comment on their clothes because that's why they put them on, so people notice it. If you ask somebody about their shoes, "Oh, nice shoes," they'll tell you one of two things: either where they got them, who made them, or how much they cost. You know, these Walmart, $6. These Jimmy Choo. And you've started a conversation there. So in communicating with strangers, now when you're up here speaking, you can ask questions, but is in a one-on-one situation, you don't have permission to ask questions yet until they trust you. Questions get the wall to come down and put the wall up before you. The thing that happens right at the beginning of a conversation is if you click these triggers in people's heads. Who are you? Why are you here? How long are you going to stay? Are you friend or foe? If I come up to you and you think one of those things, the wall goes up and I will never have a conversation with you. But if I don't trick those, I can be interesting. And what you're trying to do with an audience, what you're trying to do in front of your boss, what you're trying to do in front of a client, you are trying to get them to lean in and listen. And you really want just to show your personality. This is who I am. This is what we do. Join us. But it's like, here's one thing your friends have never said to you. "Good morning. How are you today?" Never. Acquaintances will say that. But when somebody says that to me, I know they don't know me very well. And it's, what is it? It's the number one thing we say to people when we first meet them. Or we'll make some innocuous, it's better to have an innocuous conversation about weather, but wow, it's raining. So your first sentence in a presentation is your most valuable real estate because it allows you to have a second sentence. Your job is to know exactly what your audience thinks the second you walk on stage and you open your mouth. And "Good morning. How are you today?" does not give you that. Because what if they didn't have a good morning? You know, what if Claudette was like, It wasn't a good morning, Ray. The dogs walked over the fresh laundry. I got in here to come here. There's a bomb cyclone going on. Somebody cut me off and I want to pull up next to them and flip them off, but I pulled up right next to them and they wouldn't look at me. I'm like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And then I missed the exit. And now you're saying, good morning, you perky little soul. Now, I especially know this because I used to be the most negative person on the planet. I had to work on it. Oh, I worked with the most positive woman in the world. She drove me crazy. Every single time I would talk to her, and when somebody would say, like, how are you today? There's another, stop that. How are you today? Oh, super fantastic. Every single time. Oh, super fantastic. And one time I was standing right next to her, and they asked me that question. Ray, how are you today? And I mocked her. I went, oh, super fantastic. And that day when I did it, like right now, I started cracking up. And in the middle of cracking up, I thought, hey, this really works. And it does. Every smile, not a real one, right? You feel better than you did 2 seconds ago, don't you? Who did that? Wasn't me. It was you. Here's the good news about your attitude and your thoughts. It's the only thing we control. And they're just like your shirt. You can change it whenever you want. I chose to wear a pink shirt today. Why? I picked it up the floor and said, it's clean. All right, there we go. But it's okay to be positive. It's a much better way to go through life than negative. Name me one thing you get out of life that's better because you're negative. You know, that's the same question as name one person that you know in life that was successful all by themselves. There's nobody. There's nobody. We all need the same things. We all need a push, a shove, a hug, and some love. 4 basic principles of what human beings need. You can't give those to yourself either. They've got to be coming from somebody else. So when you are feeling strange or whatever, don't live with it in here. That's where the demons are. Talk to your friends. Talk to your friends. So where do you get started giving these speeches? Where can you go and do these things? Well, you're in one, right? If you're a guest, join here. This is like the best feedback place in the world. So come on in here, join up. They'll help you out and take you on this next path. Anybody that joins today, if there's a bunch of guests out there, I will give them a 30-minute consult so they can kind of go over things and do with their speech. So if you're not a member, get in there, and then you guys can tell me who did it and who didn't. So we'll do that. Where's I going with this? Oh, so where else could you go and speak that isn't Toastmasters? Lions Club?
Yeah, I'm in the VFW. I have some opportunities, you know,
Lions Club, VFW, Rotary. Toastmasters has an alliance with Rotary that nobody ever uses. Do you? Okay.
Yeah, that discount for my Zoom.
Oh,
Staff.
so apparently there's a Rotary Club discount for Zoom. Who knew? That's worth the price of admission today, folks, which is free. But the animal circuit, Lions Club, Elks Club, Moose Lodges, Peacock Gap Country Club, I don't know what, anything with an animal there. Don't go to the zoo, they're good listeners though. But those things, they meet every week and they are dying to have speakers. And you'll get 20 minutes, which sounds daunting, but it's not, to put together your expertise. What are you an expert at? Now, if you want to create this thing where I call it speak to sell. You have to have your message, you have to have your presentation, and they have to gain something out of it. And I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. And I will share my screen at this point, if I'm smart enough to do so. You know, I always think that what you should do is that there ought to be some sort of thing that you do to Am I not in the meeting anymore? Oh, no, was it down? Oh, there we go. There we go.
What else? Oh, is that yours?
There we go. You should give people instructions when you go to put something up on Zoom, because I love listening to people when they try to share their screen. Okay, let me share my screen. Where did that go? I click there. Hey, can you see that? Can you see that?
There was a whole new language on that. So.
Okay, so here is your first slide. I'm going to give you a presentation on the presentation, and I will make these available to you. It's just a template. So you can write this stuff down. That's great, but just take notes, and then you can always refer back to it there. If you just read this, it's not going to tell you much. If you look at your notes, it's not going to tell you much, but you put the two together, bam, we got learning happening. Okay, so what is your title? What's the payoff and the result? So it could be speak to sell. How to go from free to fee. You know, some sort of compelling example with that. Okay, so you're opening. Come out strong, either with a story, a bold premise, startling statement, start the story in the middle. Don't have this many words on a slide ever. See, there's a bell that went off that said, "You're right, Ray." Right? And I will just put pictures on my slides. And I want to be the star. I don't want my slides to be the star. So the most important thing you can do in a presentation is turn the screen off, because then people go from the screen over to you. And that is the B button on your computer does it. It's also on a clicker. But you're opening. What do you want to do? What can you do? It could be a bold statement. It could be a fact. It could be just some congratulations. When I say congratulations, what for? Right? I've opened a speech before with, you know, the platypus has no stomach. I'll wait while you Google it. And I see the phones come out and everybody does it. Who doesn't? Oh my God. You know, the original screws were not made as fasteners. They were made to extract oil from olives. Who knew? I looked both those up. They're actually 100% true. I heard people say that. So your opening story, bold presence. I spoke at Toastmasters TLI, the Leadership Institute, and I was talking about how people come into Toastmasters. And I walked up and I said, "Bam." That was my first word. Bam, and people jumped. And I said, that's the sound that someone makes when they run into their comfort zone wall. And then thud. That's the sound when they get overwhelmed and fall down because they tried to do it themselves. Somewhere at that intersection of bam and thud is where they walk in Toastmasters. And what do? They're afraid to speak. So we come in and say, hey, we got a guest here. Can you come up and talk? Right? And it's so simple, because if you pull them aside and say, look, in the beginning, we're going to have you say a couple of words. We hope that's okay. If not, we'll skip it. And then what happens is like, well, MG, tell me about yourself. And they'll say, well, I've heard about Toastmasters before, and I thought about it for a long, long time. It'd probably be good for you. And then the president says, you come to the right place. Right. And then it never come back. Here's what you don't know is you don't know what they're thinking, and you don't know what their needs are. But if you change that, and I mean MG, right? MG. Okay, Malcolm Gabriel, MG. Two quick questions for you. Why Toastmasters and why now? You don't have to answer that, but that if you change it to that, and you know the people in your club, if he says, I've been thinking about it a long time. I did this with our president. First time she did it, the woman said, I've heard about it for a long time, but I've got a presentation coming up in August that I really need help with. It's a big business presentation. Well, our president knows who's in the room. She goes, well, Ray and Cara both teach people how to do these things. So hook up with them before you leave. So what is overwhelm? It's when you've lost hope. You've lost hope. What is hope? It's simply the next step. And if you show them the next step, so by saying, why Toastmasters, why now? I'm going to get why, and I'm going to get why now. And then they're overwhelmed because they came here. It's not easy to walk in this place. And now I've given them the next step. You need to talk to Lisa before you leave, right? And that gives them the next, okay, now I know where I'm going. There's the next step. The next step, if it's small, they follow it. So, listen. By the way, is anybody here super process oriented? Step 1, step 2, step 3, ABC? You know, if I look in your closet, okay, if I look in your closet,
Checklist.
is it lined up from light to dark? Okay. To you, I apologize because I'm not that person. I'm the kind of movie that goes squirrel and off I go. But I'm very trainable. If I go off on a tangent, just raise your hand and say squirrel, and I'll come right back to where we were. We good? Okay. All right. So all these things are great. Me back down. Okay, and here's the next slide. Oops. This is what I did. If you're a Toastmaster and you want to win a contest, you're in the right place. If you're a great speaker and want to get paid, you're in the right place. You know, you have, you want, you are. You want them to feel part of your group coming closer to you. You have to stop periodically so they listen. So you listen. Because it's a conversation. You're not talking at people, you're not talking down to people, you're not talking up to people. And that drives me crazy. When you say, good morning, how are you today? It's so great to be here in front of you. I'm so honored to be. What I'm doing is I'm showing you that I believe that you are up here and I'm down here. In business or in relationships, do you want to be cowed up or cowed down to? No, you want an even conversation. And friendships, as much as we think are tight, they are things that we measure and we keep track of subconsciously. Now, they have to be even to last. If Steve gives me advice and I make him smile, that's an even exchange. But the second that he takes, and I give, now we have an uneven conversation. And your audience is the same way. There are so many words in your speech that send a different meaning than what you mean. For example, I think. Don't ever say that. People do it to be humble. Well, I think, you know, I'm just giving you my opinion. But when it comes across the other person is, my idea is way better than yours. Hey, stupid is really what I think equals hey, stupid. I know what you're thinking. No, you don't. Do you want somebody thinking, no, you don't? And somebody in the audience will do that. If it's only 10%, that's still a significant amount of people you want on your side. So go through and look at those things. That's part of simplifying and clarifying. The next part, empathy questions. How many times have you tried to win the district title? Who competes in here? How many people? Has anybody won the district in here? But I know Jackie online. Yeah. And so it's a process, and people don't. It's not easy. It takes a long. I took a stack of rewrites that I had for the speeches that I've gone, and I think I've been to like 10 district finals, and the stack of rewrites is like 8 feet tall. 8 feet tall. Stack of rewrites. You've got to do that. You got to bring those things down. But what happens here? Have you ever watched the Toastmasters people come and they're going, I am so happy to be here today. This is my icebreaker. I was born in 1927, you know, whatever it is, what they're doing, they're thinking about what they're saying. And when you do that, the audience knows. They don't want perfection. They want your presence. Part of what charisma is the intensity of your presence. if you're perfect, you're not giving enough authenticity. You're not showing them the dark side that we all have inside of us. Almost broke out the song lyrics there, but the dark side. But that's the kind of stuff you get out of your head and into theirs, or get out of your head and into their shoes, live in their shoes. You have to look at life through their eyes with their wallet. If you're selling something. My sister called me up. Said, is this my brother that deals with corporate leaders and how to deal with corporate leaders? You talk to them all the time, right? Yeah. Well, let me tell you a problem I have at work. And her job, she did her job, and then she had to do the payroll at the end of the month. I don't know why, but it was handwritten time cards. The worst thing in the world. So she'd catch up every month and then fall down and catch up and fall down and catch up and fall down. And she would come home crying. And she's like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And when she said, I've got a problem at work, I said, well, if you want your boss to solve it, don't say that. Say, I have an answer. Give them a solution, not the problem. Okay, click. And she did a great job. She went out and found a software that fixed everything that was bothering her. But here's how she presented it. Hey boss, every month I go through the same thing and it's driving me crazy. It's been going on for like 5 years now. There's 50 people in her department. And I go home and I do my work and all of a sudden I have to do payroll and I have to fix every single time card because everybody forgets to punch every day and I got to get them to sign it and initial and do these things. And every month I cry and it's just driving me crazy, but I found the answer that'll fix it. It's only $5,000. Well, what do you think the boss heard? Wah, 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 $5,000. No. So she calls me back up. Is this my brother that deals with managers and leaders? I go, yes, it is. You're an idiot. You didn't solve my problem at all. I said, well, can I ask you a few more questions? And she, the next day, went in with this approach to the same boss. This next day. And I said, she said, hey, I found something I think that can save the company about $75,000 over the next year. The guy who won Manager of the Year last year only saved the company about $30,000. So if I'm right, you're a shoo-in to win Manager of the Year. I just wanted to get on your calendar to talk about it. I'm free right now. The next year, she was working for the Manager of the Year that now had a time card system that didn't exist anymore, and they used their computers. So that's an example of empathy questions. So when you're talking about your story, you would have a picture of some sort of train wreck. And you have to show them how bad you were. Your rocky seas are their smooth sailing. They have to believe that you've gone through what they have, or they won't come with you. And so if I go up and I talk about, everything I did and this, that, the other thing, oh, it's easy for you. But I was a shy little kid. Right? I've gone through all these things. I declared bankruptcy twice. I did all these horrible things, but now it's okay. And here's how I did it. Let me use my notes to help your life. And that's how people buy into your stories. That's how people buy into you. That's how people buy into your business. That's how you get raises, all these kind of things. So there's also the pivotal story, the breakthrough, your huge insight, the direct lesson, connecting the dots, repeated pattern, detective work, experiment. Failure ways to success. I've heard it called mess to success. That's a catchy little way to say it. Anything that you can come up with that is catchy, that inspires, that shows change. Because you have to show where you were, how you got where you are now, and how you changed. And that's the key part to a good story. There has to be conflict in it, in your story, or else it's like watching a reality show. If they really showed you what happened, like nothing, right? I forget whose quote this is, but a movie's like life without the boring parts. And that's really cool. So your first story point, action step, and success story. This would be where you show what you've done and how it worked. I know Yuki's a member of this club. And I've never met Yuki live, but she's been my client for 4 or 5 years now. And when, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but when one of my favorite kind of testimonial She said, I learned more from Ray in 6 months than I learned in 6 years of Toastmasters. And oops, I'm not supposed to say that at Toastmasters meeting. But she went from being hard to watch and understand to District 101 champion. Nobody has a better work ethic than her. She works hard. She's sending me stuff from India right now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Just relax, have fun. Okay, so your success story. I had a kid that worked for me that went from being afraid to talk to a human being to being a district leader in Best Buy. You know, and talk about the transformation that the people you come across, because you have all these things. Use some sort of visual. This is from Do It Marketing, my friend David Newman. What he uses. I think this is too busy, but for him it's perfect because what he shows, these are what you want is the right. You want the success. These are the 2, 4, 6, 7 things you need to have success. And he goes through and he shows you what it's like if you have all of them but strategy, then you have tacticitis. So he gives you the symptoms of the problem with it. And yeah, that's the way he uses it.
Oh, squirrel.
Squirrel?
You have no focus.
Oh,
That's us.
Yeah. What's PKS?
so diagnose the problem. You show the pieces and the parts of your model and the bad. Negative effects when one or more pieces is missing, broken out of alignment. You kind of name these specific problems so you can recognize themselves. I'll give you an example of one that and I use a simpler thing. There's a guy named Simon Bowen who created this thing called a genius model. And I took his idea. Here's my example of a genius model. There she is, Cindy Crawford. She actually has an IQ of 154, which makes her a genius. She is a member of Mensa. I don't know if you know that or not. And Mensa requires an IQ of 140. My brother and we split a membership. So we're good. So I have a program called the lean-in factor, right? And so I use this thing to show it. But I talk, and there's my cat practicing it upside down. But here's an example of the genius model. So this is what an entrepreneur faces in order to be successful. There are 3 things you need to master. Your creative genius, your native genius is what I call it. And you have to be so unique that you can charge unique pricing, better, smarter, faster than anybody else with your native genius. It has to be transformational. You have to know that what you do makes people's lives better and easier. When I work with people, I know the number one thing that they hang around me, if I'm in a business standpoint, ever since I was in Little League, I've sold more than other people. And I teach people how to do that. And everybody have hung around for a long time. Their sales have gone up and up and up. I thought I was just lucky, but then I reverse engineered it. And that's kind of what I'm doing today. So the creative genius part, you need to have communication skills, not just one-on-one, not just virtual. You have to have virtual and live, one-on-one, written and presentation skills, and one-to-many, basically. You've got to master that. If you have your native genius dialed in and you're good at communication, but you don't have people skills, you know what happens? You'll get a certain number of sales, but they're all very, very, I call it debate team sales, where it's based on data and people don't buy on data. So you'll have some success. If you have your native genius and people skills, you'll be stuck in the sales friend zone because you'll be able to explain and say, man, you've given me a lot to think about. Wow, you should do this this is great stuff. But you can't communicate the value and ask them to buy for it. People skills, there's 4 things that go into people skills. And it's confidence, humor, influence, and charisma. Charisma is teachable. Absolutely. There's that actually has those things written on it for those of you that are doing screen things, but this is all in the deck that I'll give to you. Yeah, it's been researched and proven that charisma can be taught. Confidence, humor, influence, charisma. There's a little bit more to it than that, but here's kind of what it looks like. So the anchor is confidence. Humor adds to that. Influence, then you see charisma. And here's a couple other things that you need to have on top of that. Everyone who's charismatic has childlike awe and wonder. everything is still cool. Oh my God, look at that. I had a boss, very charismatic. You could see a row of ants going up the wall and he'd look at it and I go, okay, there's gonna be talking about a row of ants in the sales meeting tomorrow. And sure enough, Howard, he would do that. And he could come with a message out of everything. You need to have genuine concern for others. That might be the only one that you really would have a hard time teaching. Charisma can be done by people that don't have that because there are some sociopaths that are very charismatic. Right? Okay. So then you basically rinse, lather, repeat to make this longer. So if you have 45 minutes, you'd have like 4 stories in there, or 3 stories. An hour would be like 4, but you just do these little chunks. You take existing case studies or testimonials that tie directly to master solving the product, using the success story to anchor the teaching point, makes it weird, not bolted on. So what is it that you have done that is relatable to the audience? And then here's the rinse, lather, repeat part. And then you show them your process. This is what I do. This will save you X amount of years in your life. I did all the bad things, so you don't have to. And you have to have genuine concern for others. I know, because I know a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs fail because they aren't able to ask people the question, will you buy this from me? I don't want to talk to you because then I might have to sell something. And it's like, oh, it's scary, very scary. Right? Well, the way I look at it is I know if I take what's in my head and put it into somebody else's, they become more effective communicating. They become more effective salespeople. They become more effective leaders. And if I don't tell you a way to do that, then I'm being selfish. I have to give you the opportunity to look at it and say yes or no. I don't care if you say no or not. That's fine. I think there's an example of mine. Then you transition out of it. And the last thing is so you're moving, you're probably asking yourself this, that, and the other thing. And then you go, the next step, what's the call to action? And you can have a bunch of different calls to action. I will put this one up there. This is a link to my calendar, but that's just one version. I've got a better version of that later. This is what my friend David does. And he sells this thing. That Kiwi Live doesn't work anymore. And this is the one that I would love for you guys to take a couple minutes today and give me feedback on this presentation so I can make it better next time. I will leave that up there while I take questions.
Our phones are off, so we'll look at it.
Okay. What, any questions?
I've asked online.
There's somebody calling in. Yes, I've got a question. Pick up, damn it, pick up.
Call or number?
Bam.
No, you do workshops?
You talked about, essentially, when you were in first grade, you had limited beliefs.
Yeah.
And it seems like, as I've talked to people in the last few weeks, everybody's got it.
Mhm.
To some extent or another, and it's not just speakers, but whatever line of work.
Absolutely, 110%.
Yeah.
Steve, can you please go?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, come on up. So he's talking about limiting beliefs.
Right.
You may have heard it as imposter syndrome, being up in front of people. I stood in front of a room full of people that half of them were NSA, National Speakers Association, Hall of Fame speakers, and Brian Tracy. And I gave my presentation and I thought, oh my God, I'm not worthy to be in this room. I didn't like what I did. So I was in my head, not in my body. And I walked off. And the next day I told a woman that I didn't like what I did. She said, are you kidding me? Yeah, I didn't like it because I didn't do something I'd planned to do. And she said, there were like 20, 25 speakers for the entire weekend. And you're the only one that got a standing ovation. And I didn't even see it. So your imposter syndrome and limiting belief, that is an absolute thing. You got to know when you're doing it and cancel it. You have to reframe it to tame it. So you have to change it from something bad into something good. And usually that takes you from out of the past and into the future because nothing ever bad has happened in the future for you.
We have a question online.
Yes.
It's Jackie Tweedy.
Hi, Jackie.
What do you think about foundational phrases?
I like to have things that are catchy.
You might repeat the question.
Oh, what do I think about foundational phrases? Comes from Jackie Tweedy, the fabulous speaker, Jackie Tweedy. I enjoy using them. And it depends if it fits. So everything has to fit. And it helps. There's a pattern in speech. There's a rhyme to it. There's a rhythm to it. Alliterations, rhyme, short, sassy, fun. That's what I'm into. So I use them. Don't look up to your heroes, look into them. Now you know, something that makes it catchy, I think is a good thing to do. But it has to fit. It has to fit.
Thank you.
Oh, well, the voice of God that sounded just like Jackie Tweedy.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, you said that.
Come on down.
You said that, that charisma is basically the intention of your presentation. But if you're too perfect, then you can't be trusted. So how do you trade off making it clear and simple, but not making it, how do you warm it up?
Okay, so you have to show where you were. And if you don't show where you were, they'll never believe where you are that they can get there. And stories like being the shyest kid in school, being bankrupt, overcoming it. If they go, really, this guy was that? He did this? Oh, wow. I wonder how he did it. That's all you really, I wonder how he did it.
So you take it to your personal level, and then that warms it up a little.
Yeah, if you look at,
Not what you're trying to sell.
no,
Okay.
because they're gonna buy into you. If you ever watch Shark Tank, sometimes they don't like the product, but they love the person. And they will invest in the person. And nobody, and I talked about the language of friendship a little bit and how we use that. Nobody buys from anybody that isn't their friend. And if you can't create that, you're never going to sell anything, because they'll buy from your friend. If their friends aren't available, they buy from their other friends. So that's the thing. That's the key thing, is creating that friendship, creating that instant connection. Quicker connections, faster friendships, bigger, deeper relationships lead to sales in life. And when I say sale, that could be a date, that could be this, that could be whatever, because it works in all levels of life.
Oh, there's another question from Jackie. The question is, what if the topic you talk about is only good for an organization, for organizations that don't have any funds?
Okay.
e.g. dementia.
Okay. What do you do if it's for an organization that doesn't have any funds? There you can create sponsorships actually, and go to local businesses and have them sponsor your fee to do that. There's a lot of people that do that. There's a guy named Claude Haggerty that specializes in it. I'm not an expert in it, but I have a Wednesday. It's called Roadblock Removals for Speakers and Coaches, and it's a live stream on LinkedIn. And I had him as my guest one time, and he talked about it for 45 minutes. He's a magician that does things, and they never have money. He always works with nonprofits. They never have money to give him, although nonprofits do have money. They just can't profit from it. I took an $11,000 check from Little Sisters of the Poor once. And so that's how I know they do have money. So they do have those things, but sponsorships are a way around that. Claude Haggerty is a guy that I've met that does that. And that's where I would look into, but it's a great way. Other businesses will sponsor you coming in to talk about dementia. And my mom passed away about a year ago from it. And I think the last time you won the district, we both talked about dementia that day. MG.
Hey,
Hey.
I have two questions that I think go together.
Okay.
The first question is, so I joined Toastmasters because I wanted fear of being in front of my class as a teacher. My second question, what is your story? Like, what initially drew you to Toastmasters? My second question, so I kind of lost it for a second, but here we are. I know, for instance, John Wooden took 15 years coaching the same basketball team, 41, 10 championships. Not to say that like being a champion was your goal, but what did it look like for you to become the speaker you are today,
Okay.
aside from any kind of a competition type?
So I did stand up for 15 years. And then I got into sales. And I put the two together. And what I learned from that, I thought I was lucky everywhere I went, sales went up, and I was a fixer for a company with sales. But I did little things like I took that, can I help you? It was a retail when I started out with, and you walk in a retail store, can I help you? It's like, no, I'm fine, just looking.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, like, where's that guy? I have questions for that person, right? So I forbid anybody on my team to say, can I help you? And I said, they go, what do we say then? Say, I'll let you buy that. And what happens when you do that? I said, you can say whatever you want, but don't ask a question. I'll let you buy that. Here's what happened every single time I did that. I'll let you buy that. Well, I bet you will. But while you're here, let me ask you this. I've just taken down the wall of who are you, why you're here, how long you're gonna stay, are you friend or foe? Because I'm just gonna let you buy it. Well, then, but now you're a friendly expert. So I took those things, I put them together. I didn't know if they worked or not. I didn't know who to sell it to or who would buy it. I had a horrible native genius mentality. I didn't think it was worth anything what I did. I just speak, that's all I do is I talk. And I took it on the road to figure out if it worked. So I went to a seminar company and I put their leadership training, I took it out and I put in mine. And I used their books, but one of the reasons, that thing that I asked about, are you a linear person right there? I had to throw that in the beginning of presentations because people were like, he's all over the place. And if I did that, they go, oh, okay, I know what he's doing now. So it takes the surprise out. And then I also had to talk him into not using the workbook because I was doing my content. It wasn't in the workbook. So I came up with this thing where I said, hey, did anybody come here to read today? Do you want me to read to you? Because we have the workbook. When I went to school, you heard the professor's experience and then you read the book later. Are you okay with that? Or do you want me to read to you? Page 1. They go, no, we're fine. So what happens is every time you hit a roadblock, you have to figure out how to get around it. And the easiest way to remove a roadblock is to talk about it before it becomes a surprise to your audience. If I say those things, then they accept me. If I don't, they wonder about me. So that I did. I should have done that for a year, but I did it for 5 because it was kind of fun. And I'm traveling all over the place. I'm in like the worst little towns in the world and everything, but I'm still having fun doing it. I got to see Mount Rushmore, all these kind of things in these little tiny hotels and all this. And then COVID hit. That's when I had to figure it out on my own. So I used the skills I have speaking to get partway good, and then COVID and bringing in somebody else made me really good. So I had the pieces. It's putting the pieces together, and it gets easier and easier and easier. The arc of it depends on how hard you're working on it and what you want to do. But I think that Toastmasters is probably not the best place for because here's what happens when somebody comes that are tremendously scared of speaking, they solve it and they leave. It's the people that use it for something else that are ones that stay like 10, 12, 15 years. That's just personal opinion. I don't have the numbers on or anything, but that's just my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way the rest of it
Yeah. I'll show you one last thing and get out of here because I know I'm over time already, right? Well, I'll return. So, and people always ask me about, yeah. And when I speak and when I talk, a lot of questions are like that, where it's like, what, I find it hard to do this. What do you do? And I have a hard time. Well, let me just explain it this way. When I was a little kid, I was standing there and I watched my best friend fall out of a tree. Thump. He looked like a redheaded freckle-faced rock. Boom. And the neighborhood kids surrounded him and he was mad. He was fine, but he was mad. And he was pointing up. He wasn't mad at us. He was pointing beyond us up at the sky. And he created this neighborhood legend. He said, I need to fix that. So he wanted to fix gravity, right? He was the neighborhood scientist. What he would do is he would take inanimate objects and he'd put them in a shoebox and he'd hand them to us and they would solve our problems. And they worked, right? With a shoebox, he stopped Pete Haydock from catching cooties, right? With a shoebox, he kept the monsters out from under Daryl Minigala's bed. And he had these shoeboxes. These shoeboxes were like the hopes and dreams of our neighborhood. And we had one kid, his name was Joey, who didn't speak. He was old, he's like 6 years old, he didn't speak. And I asked Billy one time, I said, why don't you get a shoebox to Billy or to Joey? He says, well, he doesn't need one. He just needs something important to talk about. I said, oh, okay. And I watched this kid, and when he fell down, we had a universal sign that everything was okay. There was no such thing as a high five back then, because that was a long, long time ago. We had this thing we called the low toe, which we stuck out the toe and you hit the guy's foot. And that was the universal sign to all the kids in the neighborhood that everything was okay. And the day after he fell out of the tree, Billy was back at the tree. Well, the next day, I guess I don't need to share this.
We also have a question on one of them.
Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one.
Where are you? Oh, I guess.
There we go. All right. And so the next day he shows up at the tree, he's carrying a shoebox. And he said, this is my best one ever. I go, what's that? He goes, it's a gravity machine. No more falling out of trees. And he showed it to me. He lifted it out and he showed it to me. And inside the box, there were sponges, rubber bands, and pineapple upside down cake. Sponges float, rubber bands snap back. And if the pineapple cake was upside down, we had to be right side up because Spock said there was balance in the universe. And he took this shoebox and he put it at the base of the tree that he fell out from the day before, jumped up into the tree, got to right where he fell out before, closed his eyes and jumped. And he reached out in one hand and he grabbed a branch. And with his eyes still closed, I watched him circle that tree twice. That was scientific proof of belief in a shoebox. Now, after that, school's about to start. Billy disappears. We don't see him. We don't know where he is. Nobody tells us anything. And we're going, where's Billy? Nobody's talking to the kids. And then one day I heard a teacher say he caught something. And the word I heard was flimfoma. Now, I don't know what flimfoma is. And I go running, I'm excited. Billy caught something. It had to be great, right? I'm going, Mom, what's flimfoma? Mom, what's flimfoma? And she pulled me aside. She did a get down on one knee, adult talking to kids thing. It was the first time I ever saw her cross. Flimfoma, lymphoma, right? He's got cancer. And she's telling me that he's going to lose all his hair, and he's getting really, really skinny, and he may not be around too much anymore. And while she's explaining this to me, there's a knock on the door, and I open up the door, and it's the neighborhood kids. And Pete is crying. Daryl is angry. And we're just sitting there looking at each other. And then we heard a sound that we had not heard ever before. Joey said, get a shoebox. We can fix this. And so we grabbed a shoebox and we ran off to create a lymphoma curing machine, right? We put 16 pieces of chocolate in there. Well, there was 20 when we started, but we got a little hungry, and we put that in there. Then we went down to the barber, we shaved off all our head, and we took the hair and we put it in the shoebox. Right? I had no idea it would be permanent at that point. And we need one more thing. So we went down to old man Pertlewitz's place and we got a rock. And we took everything we had, crayons, paint, whatever, anything that was green. We painted this rock green because what we just made, kryptonite. If that could stop Superman, lymphoma had no chance. And we took those things and we got permission to go see Billy the next day. And we go running in and we're like screaming and yelling, hey! And we looked and I saw Billy and I didn't recognize him. It looked like a kid in a spider web of all these wires and things like that coming in there. And his eyes were empty. There was no life in them. And we didn't know what to do. So Joey took the box and walked up to Billy and said, we have created a lymphoma curing machine. Here you go. Once he started talking, we couldn't get him to shut up, basically, right? And Billy looks at it. And I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but have you ever seen somebody that is sitting there and their lip starts to quiver just a little bit and it moves upward and it goes up around their ear and kind of fills into their eye? I could see life coming back into his eyes. And he sat there and he goes, man, why didn't I think of this? And we're sitting there, oh my God. And then while he's doing that, more importantly, he put his foot out from under the covers of the bed to give us a low toe. The universal sign that everything's okay. And at that moment, there were 5 kids that knew Billy was okay, but the doctors said, there's no way, he was terminal. And sometimes doctors have to eat crow though. Billy came back 100%. And he went on to become an executive for Nike. So when he sees shoe boxes, he doesn't see a pair of shoes, he sees hope, he sees dreams, he sees things that we can cure, we can go with that. And if he were here, he'd ask you things like, you know, do you have any rights you need to wrong? What hills haven't you climbed? What trees you have left to climb? You like to talk about, because we talked about the tree. He said, if you do all these things, life will give you a low toe. And when I hear people talk about speaking is hard, contacting people is hard, reaching out is hard, I kind of don't believe you, because this piece of cardboard, it's the shoebox. And I've held it my whole life. If I can cure cancer with a shoebox, I think you can talk to strangers. I think you can tell stories. I think you can get up and give your life there. So don't let this get in your way of anything. Always remember the shoebox. So thanks.
On behalf of the membership of Speakers Forum, they should have put in a shoebox.
Go on.
I'd like you to present this.
Thank you. Do I open it?
You can open it.
Do I go to the card first or I open it?
Do the card first.
Okay.
I'll hold it.
Thank you. I feel like I just won an Academy Award.
I think you won the
There you
district
go.
one year with shoebox.
No, that actually came in second,
Oh, okay.
but it's better than it was. Thank you, Ray, for being the Speakers Forum Showcase speaker today's date. Thank you.
December
Thank
14th,
all of you.
2024.
What did I get? What did I get?
Oh, what did I get?
Yeah, a bullet.
So we're gonna take a little break, 10 minutes.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
pretty cool,
That's a cool Toastmasters journal.
right?
Thank you all. Thank all of you out there in Lanny. Thanks for this. I got a place to put new stories.
And thanks for making the trip.
Thanks, man.
You drove a long ways and we really appreciate it.
Oh, I,
So
literally,
10
I love doing
minutes,
this.
We'll come back at 11:02.
Oh, Lisa, is your phone up here?
Is it?
Nice and warm.
I thought so.
Okay.
I was
What do you need me to do?
Oh, thank you.
can have this.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else needs the,
Okay.
Came in, I was like.
Good job. That was
Thank
nice.
thank you very much.
It's a very
That's good.
challenging.
Thank you.
Did my job, so.
Yeah.
I did.
And I every once in a while I saw things like popping up and I go, oh, there's a question. And I can read it or not.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
We are like totally. We got rid of it. Because it's-
It is, that is from our today.
And I think, and we went, so there were 45 people. And then who's there now? In the old group? There are 4 left.
We'll talk.
So when we went live, I started doing things like we did programs. And we did some first speeches. So we did the evaluation. first.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of great people. in
Yeah.
the club. And so we went from like, we're probably down to 10. We're back up to 25 now. And we'll do these things and the guests say, oh, this is.
Are you leaving?
No, I'll figure it
Okay, because we want to make sure that we get.
out. Oh, cool.
I'm gonna check this video because I'm not listening, but it's also coach,
Got it.
all different coaches.
Yeah, and the people that, like, the thing I mean, I work a lot with speakers, but the other thing is I help coaches and speakers that love to coach and speak, but hate to speak, and teach them how to do it. And that's what the lean in factor is all about. It's the
genesis of where I'm going, and I just found that dub thing, which is great. I don't know if you guys saw the little video out there where you're on their screen and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's so simple, so easy. But yeah, we do so many things to throw roadblocks in our own way that
I gotta move.
you just got to remove it.
Yes,
And-
and I'm not a speaking coach, I'm a relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still have people blocking their way.
Yes, for sure. I love all. I
So
mean,
the
because,
other one I remember, Ray, is Mr. Z.
Yeah. That's the one that. So Darren always would tell you, like, he said, well, if you don't know why you didn't win. Why would you win that? I'll tell you, and so he was the
He was a keynote.
The keynote.
I was a pro growth director, so,
Yeah.
or no, the program quality, so we brought him in and he was there.
And I was talking to him and I tell you, I've got this thing's good. He goes, I can't wait to watch it. And we got done. I'm going, well, I guess I didn't, I guess I did something wrong. And he said to me, it's the first time I ever said, no, dude, you were hosed.
It was really good. Yeah, the guy played basketball with you, he had a hard time. I mean, it's not often, even when the speeches are really good, 8 or 9 years later, I remember. And this guy, well, I think he was a war veteran.
He was in.
Or no, he was
I had to leave some of the truth out
Yeah.
because it's so unbelievable. His doctor was Dr. Mingala. Yeah, he was part of those experiments. And I think what happened, so the next year I didn't compete and they asked me to be a judge, but I couldn't because one of my guys was in the finals. And he said, well, you could be a ballot counter. And that taught me so much about the speech contest.
about the math of it.
It's like, you don't have to win any ballot, but you have to be on all of them.
Right.
And so if you take a subject, like my friend John was in the finals, he won on 5 ballots. He didn't appear on 15 other ones. So his speech was great, but it was a dark subject about depression. And so I figure if I'm talking about the atrocities of Auschwitz, somebody is not going to like that. So that's probably why I probably was left off a couple of ballots.
It was really good. I remember.
And I mean, James is great. So for a while, they're the only people that ever beat me. People went to the final.
Yeah. Well, James had been in the finals the 2 years before.
No, that was the second year.
That was the second year.
So the first year he went was when I did
Yeah.
Shoebox Billy. The next year I did Mr. Z, and he went. I don't even remember what his thing was about. I helped him with his his stuff for the next round, but it's crazy. You can't worry about it because there's always some reason.
Well, I had,
You're gonna stay around. huh?
Yeah.
the year I was district director, somebody didn't win. And he came up to me after and he said, why didn't I win? And at that point, and even now, I don't know how people win, how they don't. It just, there's so much to it, but he wanted me as district director. He thought I had all the answers.
Yeah. No, I had a guy drive from here all the way up to my house to find out why he didn't win.
Oh, really?
And he said, yeah, but he contacted me something. I forget how he did it. He wound up being fine, but he said, I want to know why I didn't win. I go, I'll tell you why I didn't win. He goes, no, I want to come up and I'll meet you up there. All right.
Really get into it.
Petaluma. Yeah. And what he did is there are so many little things that you do when you speak that if I make you wonder, and you're thinking about it, and you lose what I'm saying. And so what he did this thing about his mom and the pressure built in and like things of water and things of coke. He shook up a coke and people are like, but the first thing he did when he came out, he pulled a cooler out in the middle of the stage. And he never talked about it. And so the whole time I'm sitting there going,
What is the cooler?
What's the cooler for? If I'm thinking, what's the cooler for? I'm not listening to what he's saying. And I said, did you have this? Did you have that? Did you have? And he goes, yeah, I had it. I don't remember anything. You know why? The whole time you're up there, I thought about what the hell is cooler?
Yeah.
And so you lost it with that. And he was on a lot of ballots. He came in like third or something. But he didn't win it because he was distracted. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I do. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love doing.
The best place to meet you.
That's awesome. I was gonna work in some, I graduated from first grade, but I didn't have the right moment to do that. But that's kind of how my mind works.
Yeah, I think the humor is
Yeah, it's also funny and someone's logic.
Yeah.
Is someone who's funny sees the logic of the movie. Yeah, and someone else sees the logic of the idea. So I will, and if you, I don't know if you noticed today, but I brought words up to.
I noticed from my perspective, like, funnier. After about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I always
Were you just saying?
I was.
So.
There's always the, there's always the the thing is, if you don't feel it, you don't, you've lost the care. You know?
It's a break.
I.
Oh, we don't.
When I did something.
We're gonna convene in 1 more minute, so get ready. What?
So nervous at my first job.
Why?
Yeah.
Why not?
And I remember until I was sitting there next to the stage. And I started saying,
Well,
and by the time.
But let's not have.
And so, I heard that little thumb.
Then
it's telling
let
me
us
it's
move
important.
on.
Yeah, and so if I don't feel that, something's
Well,
wrong.
I've got it.
And I'll start
Yeah,
to slow it. The other thing,
we had a
I was
doctor's
actually.
thing too. Yeah, let's
the thing
get
I was.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
kind of-
not-
Kind of.
But let's get
confused.
other litigation, his Q and A. We'll open
You got an extra.
Ray, don't go,
Huh?
because we're gonna ask again if anyone has any
Okay.
questions before you go, because I know Lou Bob
I'm
has.
just gonna.
Right. And also, can I ask all the guests, I'm gonna remove this spotlight. And can all the guests, can everyone turn their videos on so we can get a screenshot of all of you? Thank you, I'll be right back. Okay, so you're on. That was Steve, and I thought that we would just out again.
Okay.
But don't do it yet. I need a screenshot. Okay, all the videos on.
All right.
Wait, gallery. Okay. And wait, how do I get gallery? Lou Bob,
Go to
can you
gallery.
raise your hand for just a moment? Can you ask Lou Bob to raise her hand for a moment?
Lubum, lower your hand.
For just a moment,
For just a moment, yeah, okay.
so that we can have a gallery view. Why isn't it a gallery? Why isn't everyone on gallery? Put that him on gallery.
Shouldn't this one be, isn't this one we're working with?
Am I still the
No,
host?
we want to
Okay.
be in here.
No, but is my computer the host? There we go, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I changed it on this computer.
Okay.
We also
Look
want-
at Gary looking all
Yeah.
suave and
He's ready.
deboner.
And let's get,
Right in the middle, down below.
Different.
Gary, I'm thinking of Gary.
okay, and then let's everyone get up here and let's do a quick snap here and then we're gonna, and then we'll again.
All people in back.
Yeah, you can't.
We could
Oh, yeah.
have the iPad do it too.
Okay. Up. What happened to our guests? Did they leave?
I'm still here.
Go right in here.
Oh, good. Good. Okay, we need some, we like the down part. Those of you that can, do.
Guys are over there, the girls over here.
That was so much easier 50 years ago. Over here.
We still need more. If you can get on your knees, do.
Yeah, get the low toe.
Yeah, so.
We're gonna get the up. Okay, ready? Oh, here, I don't need to do this. Oh, good. Okay,
Now she's
okay.
got the screen turned around, she's taking a picture of her.
Yes, I will. Okay, ready? Okay, now, don't go, because now,
Put it on,
Don't go breaking my knee.
yes, I'm very impressed and I'm gonna watch the, that.
You're not in the picture. You need longer
That's
arms.
okay.
Don't go change.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, everybody.
Thank you.
shut it up.
thank you all.
Yeah, whoa there, big guy. Watch out.
It used to be so much easier.
I know.
All right, everybody got their sweets and it looks like we've still got enough time if there's a question or two more for Ray.
What was your, most uncomfortable moment in a big crowd?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, or just, is it the beginning or the end or during, embarrassing, I should say.
I don't know, I kind of blocked those out like a childhood memory sometimes. It was rough being introduced following the dead people.
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of roll and adapt with it. There's been one or two things where I've been talking about something and it was not the right audience to be talking about it. And what's funny is the older the audience, the less reaction you get. Because, and here's this is, if you want to get younger, laugh more. The average 5-year-old laughs like 400 times a day. The average 50-year-old laughs 4 times a day. And so if you want to feel younger, laugh more. That's something that what laughter does, it makes people feel younger. There's nothing bad about laughter. Yeah, I always say, like, I forget what it is. It's like endorphins, there's like serotonin, and I always say like oxycontin, but that's not it. Yeah. And I've said that so often. I've said it so often that I can't remember what the right one is. But keep track of what works on you, and people don't get funny by writing humor. They get funny by taking somebody else's humor and repeating it. That's how they start. So if you don't believe that you have it, take some things that you've seen that you think are funny and figure out why they are to you, and try to repeat that to somebody else. There's no, you're not doing stand-up, so nobody's going to be upset that they repeated something that they said. You don't have to, everything that's funny that works will work again. So don't try and reinvent the wheel every time you speak.
There was a question online.
Yes.
It was, how do you find the balance between logic and emotion, which keeps the audience engaged? And if you could repeat them.
Okay, how do you find the balance between logic and emotion that keeps the audience engaged? Emotion to me is the most important part.
Yeah.
Because there is emotion in logic. If you go and you have to talk to the CEO, they'll say, just give me the numbers, just give me the numbers. That's not what they really want. What they really want is a story behind the numbers. And even those numbers create an emotion. The CEO is sitting there going, what's it going to be like for me to take these numbers in front of the board? So when he gets good numbers, the emotion behind it is, yeah, you're doing a great job. If it's bad numbers, the emotion behind it is, this is not good. Surprise is a big part of comedy. It's also a big part of anger. And you can control that by not giving surprise. I used to manage a big box retail store, and the grand poobah is coming into our place, and everybody that has that, they panic. It's like, oh my God, Captain Binghamton's coming to McHale's Island. And I know. That's a test. I will test things out like that too. So here's what I did when he would come in. I would say, oh my God, thank God you're here, because I have this problem I'm working on, and I don't know how to cure it. So I would take them right to the worst thing that I could show them, say, this is my biggest problem. You faced it before. I need your help. Well,
guess what? The rest of, that's the worst thing you could see. I told them the absolute worst thing that could happen to him. So then there was never anything that surprises him. Everybody else tried to put it in the closet and hide it. The guy's the CEO because he knows where all the hiding spots are. And when he finds it, he goes ballistic and gets angry with you because you're trying to hide it. He knows that I knew what my best and worst things were, and I was in control of that. So he always come in and leave really quick. It's like, oh, yeah, you're fine. Boom. But he goes, yeah, that is bad. Here's what I would do. Okay, I'll get it done. No surprises. Surprises. You don't know what an audience is thinking when you surprise them, unless you want to use it for humor. Then surprise is good. Anybody else?
Great questions.
Nothing online?
Do you have, in humor, I notice, it's getting very touchy feely these days. Do you have to filter the sensitivity groups? You know, that's the biggest thing. Remember, back in the sixties, you watch any of those, man, it's open game. Everybody's just, you know, but then it became the sensitive thing. You can't, you know, say this about this group or that group. It's kind of starting to turn around now. I think people are like, well, if it's funny to you, well, if it's not funny, don't listen to it. So have you found yourself filtering some things to audience? I guess it's really wrong.
One of the biggest things that tilts things in your favor is your confidence in saying something. If people smell blood, they go after blood.
Okay.
I can get away with a lot more than a lot of people can. I could use examples in the media of the same thing going on in different other examples, but if I have confidence, they do not pounce. Now, that being said, if you worry about saying it, don't say it, because that comes across. Even if you are in 100% control of what you're doing and you think, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world, there's such a fine line between humor and tragedy that you're going to cross it. So just realize that it will happen. I'll give you an example. This is years ago too. I did a show in Houston, and this woman comes up and goes down the list of the 3 comics, says, you were great, turns to me and goes, and you were mean.
Wow.
Well, I've been described as a lot of things, but mean usually is one of them. And I said, okay, so let's talk about this. And it was back in the day when the Hubble telescope first went up in the air. And when, I don't know if you remember, but it was very expensive, and they couldn't use it at first because something was wrong with it. And it had to do with like the optics in there. And the joke that I told that made her think that I was mean was, great, the Hubble telescope, we spent billions of dollars, tens of years, throw it up into space, and then we screwed up on a job that lens crafters could have done in under an hour for $79.95, right? Her dad worked on the Hubble telescope. That's why I was mean. So you don't know, and you have to release the outcome. One of the things when I was much younger is I worried about what you thought about me. The older you get, the less you worry about that. It's like, oh, and I was talking about, this is a total squirrel moment that I was talking to a friend of mine last night. We were talking about being older now. And he goes, I know one way to feel younger is what? He goes, go outside and go, get on my lawn, kids, get on my lawn. You know, and opposites, when you speak, when you're painting pictures, opposites attract. It's the light side of a dark subject. That's kind of what I'm talking about with rhythm. Opposites attract is one of the things that I use a lot. I love rhymes. I think in song lyrics, and 14% of the people out there also think in song lyrics. So if you think in song, I thought, man, I'm weird. I did a 7-minute speech one time through nothing but song lyrics, and it made it make sense and rap all the way around. But these are things that you can connect. If you try to connect with somebody and they don't connect, that's okay. You just made art. You know, if you say something funny, the only person that knew it wasn't funny is you. And I think funny, so I don't try to be. It just comes out. I can see it. I can do it. I know how to create it, and you know, that's where the humor algorithm came from. But it's a process. It's like anything else. Step 1, step 2, step 3. The punch is easy to write. The setup is the hard part to write.
I've got one follow-up on
Yes.
your presentation. You talked about putting a speech into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What's the message? So how do you do that? Do you just put a link to where the video of your speech, or do you write in the speech
I have
verbally, or?
Well, you could do a couple different things. Michael Davis is a guy, he's the host of Stage Time.
he uses a tool that Toastmasters has access to, Udly, and he'll take that and put it into ChatGPT and ask them things about it. So you gotta, the prompt is the key thing. If I took, I would take a script of my speech, say, here's the story, give me 10 messages that would move people, and see what it says.
So you put in the script, you don't put in the recording.
You can, I don't know how to do
So the
that.
Recording would work, okay.
Yeah, Mike does it. Mike does that. Michael at CPRspeaking.com is, there's a plug for you, Mike. He does that. He's got his own thing. He does a lot of stuff with Udly, so he's more of an expert with that. I think the advice that Udly gives you isn't necessarily great. It's good for pace of speaking. It's good for, but don't ever change your speech to what it says, because it uses too many words. It does not clarify, simplify, and amplify. It just amplifies words. You know, you shouldn't say this. You should say, as I was thinking, who else is going to think? You know, don't put I think, just say what you think. Take out all the wishy-washy words in your communication, and it doubles the impact as well. I can't think of anything, but I think is one of them. So I said to myself, who else are you gonna say it to? You know, you thought it, just say it. Cut out all the fluff. We leave fluff in because we want to be liked by people, but you lose the message, because if you make a bold statement, people can disagree. It's okay. It's okay to disagree. But you get memorable by making that statement. Contrarian comments get remembered. It's not there's 8 billion people on the planet. If you piss off a couple, no biggie, right? If you're the only kind of person that wants to talk to people that are 1 in a million, and there's 8 billion people on the planet, there's 8,000 people left for you to talk to. Yeah, there's the data. All right.
All right, well, thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Ray.
Thank you guys so much for the meeting.